So today we're going to record a wine bottle and create a multi-sample instrument from it. To do that, I've got a microphone. This is an AKG Perception 170, a wine bottle. This is an empty bottle of Co-op Cote de Rhone. I also have a small cheese knife and a wooden spoon. I actually think the cheese knife makes quite a nice sound when used to strike the bottle. So my plan is to record the bottle at various levels of fullness, water, not wine, and then hit it and empty it out progressively. Take my recorded sounds and put them across the keyboard using the sampler in Ableton Live. Alright, so I've got a bottle of Co-op's finest Cote de Rhone filled with water. This is the Lagrange St Martin Reserve. So the plan is to strike it with this implement and then empty a little bit of water out each time in order to create a multi-sampled wine bottle instrument. What's interesting here is that, contrary to expectations, or at least my expectations, the emptier the bottle was, the higher in pitch it went, which seems to be counterintuitive. In fact, if you blow across the top of the bottle, the emptier it is, the lower in pitch it gets. Not a master of acoustics, so don't really know what's going on there. Alright, so I've got all my wine bottle recordings in Logic Pro, and what I need to do now is cut them up into individual samples so that I can put them on keys in the keyboard. I'm going to use Ableton's sampler for that, but Logic's a little easier for recording. Now, in terms of cutting them up, I'm going to use Logic's strip silence function. You can do that in Reaper or Pro Tools, as far as I know. It's just a little awkward in Ableton. The way this works is we right click, we choose split, remove silence. We'll remove the padding and add a little bit of post-release time to make the samples suitably long. Like that, there we go. Press OK. Right click on these regions, export them as audio files. I'll just put them on my desktop for now so we can easily find them. So they're going to be 16-bit WAVs, named according to the region name, which is going to be bottle 1, bottle 2, and so forth. That's fine. Okay, so now I'm ready to put my sliced up samples into the sampler in Ableton. I'm going to use the sampler because it's got a few more features. Simple is fine for loop slicing and that kind of thing, but sampler has the ability to do multi-sampling. So the idea is that each sample goes on a separate zone, and each zone is assigned to a certain number of keys. And as the wine bottle samples are all at different pitches, I can match the pitch of each sample to the pitch of a key on the keyboard and then play it as a chromatic instrument. The workflow here is kind of, it's a little repetitive, but we'll see how this works. So this is sample number 1. Let's put it into the sampler. Immediately we can play it on the keyboard. we don't know actually what pitch it is. It's not like I had a tuner out as I was recording the wine bottle. But what I can do is add a tuner to the end of the chain on the sampler track to see what pitch the sample's at. Without other interference, the natural pitch of all samples that come into the sampler is assumed to be C3, and that's the root pitch here on the sampler. So if I play a C3 on the keyboard, I'll see the tuner displaying the pitch that the sample is actually at, which appears to be G. So then if I make the root pitch G, which in this case I'm going to make it G2, that means that when I play a G on the keyboard, I'll hear a G, and when I play a C on the keyboard, I'll hear a C. Well, nearly. It's a little flat, so let's just tune it up. All right, close enough. Now the rest of the samples are higher in pitch than that G, so what I'll do is limit the range of this sample in the sampler to G, G2. So as I play up the keyboard, I'll get to G, and then there'll be nothing. And then add my next sample in above that one, which is, well, that one's not really that much higher in pitch, but that one is. So let's drop that one in underneath. I'll change the range of the second sample so that they're not overlapping. And then again, I'll play a C and see what pitch the sample's at. In this case, it's A flat. So we'll make the root note A flat or G sharp. Now when I play the C, I'll get a C. Again, it's a little flat. So we'll adjust the tuning. There's a point just there where if I play a G, I'll get sample number 1. And if I play an A, I'll get sample number 2. Because I've carefully tuned each one. Although there's a slight variance in timbre, pitch-wise, it kind of works out. All right. Let's add another sample into the mix here. What I'll do now is limit the range of this one for now to 1 key, and then add a third sample in. That one's a lot higher, so let's put that one in. Again, change the range so that they're not overlapping. Play a C. Now this one appears to be already a C, which is something of a miracle. Just needs a little bit of tuning. And I think I'm going to change the point where these samples switch over here. So my lowermost sample starts right at the bottom of the keyboard and then goes up to a point where it's at its natural pitch. Then we switch to the next sample, which has its natural pitch slightly higher, and then to the next one. And I can keep adding these in, but it might get quite boring to watch. So I'll leave it there, and but we can see the principle, right? So as we play through these different samples, we get a natural sounding instrument playing across the keyboard. So that's called multisampling. It's used throughout a lot of kind of sample libraries. For example, if you download a large grand piano sample, the likelihood is that there'll be a sample taken from a grand piano for every single key on the keyboard, and then again at every single velocity possible on a piano. So the resultant sample size is huge, but it's a very realistic sounding instrument. unlike my wine bottle sample. Okay, so coming out of the zone programming part of the sampler, just have a look at the filter/global tab here, because the default is that the envelope release time is quite short, and I've just increased the release time on the envelope. So short release, long release, so that each sample rings on a little longer and it sounds a little more realistic. Okay, that was multi-sampling using Sampler and Ableton Live. I'm off to use my wine bottle sample in a track now. Minimal wine bottle techno. There are more things you can do with the sampler, which I'll tackle in other videos. But until then, see you next time.